Hello, everyone, and welcome to our series, Building a Focus Firm with Hector Garcia, CPA. I'm Blake Oliver, CPA, your moderator for today's episode. This is the seventh installment in an 8-part series all about how to build an accounting or bookkeeping firm that gives you joy by focusing on what matters. This is our last live stream. Our final session will be a webinar on March 28th. Subscribe to our email list to get an invite to that. You can subscribe if you have not at earmarkcpe.com/focus. You'll get notified of the webinar. You'll get an invite. You'll get a calendar invite, and you'll get a link to the CPE course for each episode when it is available on the Earmark CPE app. Thanks to our sponsor, Avalara, for making this series possible. Avalara's award-winning tax automation solutions help accounting practitioners of all sizes, from sole proprietors to top 100 firms. Avalara simplifies sales tax compliance with real-time rates, automated return filings, registrations, tax research, and automated tax solutions for specialized tax areas. We live and breathe tax so you don't have to. Learn more at avalara.com/accountants. Thanks, everyone who has joined us live. You can chat with us. You'll need to subscribe to the YouTube channel to chat. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your opinions. Go ahead and ask questions. I'll put those to Hector as we go through the presentation. Now let's talk about CPE. I mentioned that you can earn CPE for joining us today. This is a live stream, not a traditional webinar, so it works a bit differently. You'll get an email next week with a link to the course on the Earmark CPE app. Sign up for the app, click the link to the course, and you'll be able to take a quick quiz and get your free CPE certificate. Again, sign up for our email list so that you get notified when that course is available and get a link to go directly to the course. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to our topic today, which is Part 7, Innovation Thought Experiment. I'm eager for this one, Hector. I understand that we're going to ask a question, which is near and dear to my heart because I have an 8-year-old son. We're going to ask, what if Disney created an accounting firm? And I'm going to Disney later this year, so I'm addicted to it. So everything they do is incredible. I want to know what can we learn from Disney about how to run a firm.
Absolutely. And welcome, everybody. Thank you, Avalara. Thank you for everybody joining us live. And thank you for people watching the live streams and listening to the podcast afterwards. So, first of all, this concept of what if Disney were to open an accounting firm or were to acquire an accounting firm or start an accounting firm, whichever way you want to put it together, comes from, or the inspiration comes from Ron Baker, a mutual friend of ours and a person that truly inspires and continues to inspire us practitioners to think differently and kind of try to swim against the current and work just try to break the status quo. And I think the reason why that's a good question to ask, and you should not be limited to just that question. You could also ask, what if Walmart were to open golf courses, or what if Rolex were to open a sandwich shop? Like, you could take two completely seemingly unrelated things and try to put them together, and it'll require you to really, really think deeply and creatively, and in some cases, get a partner to brainstorm with. Like, so Blake will be my partner today, and that's really the idea of innovation. Innovations really just starts with conversation, definition, imagining things, riffing off each other, saying silly things, saying crazy things, and at some point in time, maybe on your first session, maybe on your 100th session, innovation will catch you by surprise. That's for sure. There will be a eureka moment where you'll say, "Oh, yeah, that is what we need. That's what we need to implement." So before we get started with that, and that's definitely going to be the fun part, we'll just improv. I want to break it down a little bit and talk about innovation. Like, what is innovation, and how did I get inspired to start innovating and transforming my firm and adding new things, new services, new ways of thinking to my firm. So we're going to break this down into 3 areas. So we're going to have where I get the inspiration from. So this is where Hector gets his inspiration from. Then we'll define what innovation is. I'll give you the textbook definition. I'll give you my own definition. And I'll give you some quotes to inspire you, because innovation, for the most part, is inspiration, not so much perspiration, because you can't you can't innovate on purpose. It almost always happens by accident, right? So you almost have to be in a continuous state of inspiration, and create an environment where innovation is always welcomed, but never forced. Okay, so we'll discuss that, and then lastly we'll actually ask the question, and Blake and I will ask each other questions about, you know, how will we brainstorm a thought experiment like this. And this is an exercise that I think everyone could take to their firm, with your partner, with an employee, with a fellow practitioner if you're a solo person, and start really thinking through some of these possibilities. And then we'll have Q&A sort of sprinkled through the session. So let's start with inspiration. So I'm going to give you what I think is the innovator's bookshelf. And by the way, there's plenty of other books that I think I should have mentioned here, but I'm going to tell you the few that I think that if I were to carry with me and teach people innovation, or tell people this is where I learned what I know, it would be from these books. So I'm going to list them, and some people are watching on the on the live webinar, you know, or through video in YouTube. They can see this slide. For the folks who are only doing audio, let's go through it. So number one is going to be Ron Baker and Paul Dunn's book, Time's Up: Subscription Business Model for Professionals. Second one is a book called Win Without Pitching by the author Blair Enns, one of my favorite books. Has nothing to do with accounting, but it's amazing. Another book that I love is Rory Sutherland's book, Alchemy. I think this was about 3 years old, and it's actually an amazing book. Another one is every book by Peter Drucker, but the problem is that he's got like 40 or 50 books. So I'm just gonna mention the top seller, probably the best one to get started with, which is called The Effective Executive. The next book, which I love, is Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1. This one introduced a very important concept that drives almost everything that I do, which is you can compete with others, or you can be your own monopoly. And what does that mean? It means that if you are unique enough, if you're different enough, if you create your own category simply just by innovating or reframing, and we'll get into reframing, you will have a monopoly. And no one else can offer what Hector Garcia, CPA, the YouTuber, can offer. I have a monopoly on that. And that's a really important piece, that every single one of us, being us different, having a separate, thumbprint, a fingerprint, we can be a monopoly of our own. And I just absolutely love when he introduced that concept. It blew my mind. Another great one, a great book, is Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma. I believe he passed away last year. He was a Harvard professor. He introduced the concept of jobs to be done, where he says every product and service is hired to do a job. Every product or service is hired to do a job. So you almost have to give the product that you sell the personality that product is being hired to do a job, and you have to think of it from that perspective. And of course, I'm not doing the book any justice by just saying that and that's it. But Innovator's Dilemma, an amazing book. Another one is oldie but goodie classic. It's called Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's like 20 different versions of that. I bought my teenage daughter the one that says 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teens, and I'm making her read it and making her present it back to me. So it's actually a really fun way of connecting the things that we do to be effective business people, and then see how your kids or family members or individuals, non-business people, can do similar things, similar themes, and they can also be effective as human beings. So I think that's awesome too. Simon Sinek has tons of books that are inspiring. Leaders Eat Last, Start with the Why, but I'm just going to allude to the latest one, The Infinite Game, which is really, really awesome. Old concept, new spin to it. Trust me, you'll be inspired by it. And then there's W. Chan Kim and Renee Malberg, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Blue Ocean Strategy, which talks about basically niching, right? Like, why would you want to be in a red ocean where everybody is, fighting for the same customer? Blue Ocean means pick another place where no one else is swimming or floating or whatever you want to call it, and go there. Go there. Don't go where everybody is fighting for each other. So sort of create your own category niche. Another book that I love, and there's many books about Disney or Walt Disney, but this one is one of the most recent ones, is Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime. Great book about leadership and just kind of taking you through his story with with Disney. He's not sure if he's the current CEO, but he was the CEO until a while ago. And then another most recent book is by a young fellow. His name is Chris Do, and his book is called A Pocket Full of Dough, and he's a graphic designer by trade that started a YouTube channel to educate the world. And his motto, his slogan is, "I want to help a billion people make money doing what they love." And he has an amazing YouTube channel. You definitely want to research him. He's amazing. It inspires me every day, and many other people. So this is the Innovators Bookshelf, right? So you go back, rewind, listen to it again, see which ones you have, which ones you don't have. I guarantee you that this will help you build an innovator's mindset. Okay, so let's talk about what is innovation. So we started with where we get inspiration from. Now let's talk about some definitions so we can all be in the same page. So the first 6 episodes of this series, let's do a quick recap. We talked about positioning, which is branding, marketing. Let's just say that's what it is. We talked about business model, which is about, how to structure your business strategy. Then we talked about technology, which is the tools that we use to work and deliver the deliverables of our work. Then we talked about sales process and onboarding, how to get the right client, how to continuously get the client in with the right expectations. Then we talked about value pricing and offering guarantees, how to align the value you create with the price you charge and make the customer feel good about what they're paying, even if they're paying more than the competition. And then episode 6, we talked about attracting and retaining talent, because without talented employees, you can sell services all day long, but who's going to do the work, right? So that's what we talked about in this 6 episodes. And really what's missing here is innovation. And innovation can happen in any of these stages. Most people think innovation is only a technology thing. And true, I mean, that's really where innovation gets manifested in a very acute way, which is very obvious that there's innovation there with technology. But most innovation happens in your mind, especially innovation in terms of changing your business model, innovation about reframing what you do, innovation on how you approach selling to your customers, innovation on how you price and how you offer guarantees, innovation on how you attract and retain talent. So innovation is sprinkled through any of these sort of deep topics that we talked about. Now, one of my favorite topics or quotes, okay, and it really does encompass everything we talked about so far, is Peter Drucker's quote, which is, "Because the purpose of a business is to create a customer, the business enterprise has 2 and only 2 basic functions: marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation produce results. All the rest are costs." That's Peter Drucker's quote. This is from the 70s, possibly, or the 60s, maybe. Don't know how far back this quote goes, but that's what we talked about. Everything that we've talked about so far is marketing and innovation, or the catalyst to change it or improve it is within the eyes of marketing and innovation. So absolutely love that quote. And if you actually start believing that quote, you start changing where you're going to spend the most amount of energy. This quote is not very popular amongst accountants, because most accountants think, wait, there should be 3 functions. Add accounting in there, add finance in there. No. You have to understand, accounting and finance are costs. They're compliance. These are costs. Okay. None of these things add to the purpose of the business, which is to create a customer. You cannot create a new customer through great accounting methods. Okay. Maybe you maintain them, by not pestering them with open invoices that already paid or something like that. I get that. But most of the time, you don't create customers, you don't create products, you don't create markets through accounting and finance. These are costs. So you have to understand that, for most of us, for most of our customers anyway, that's how they see us, right? So you can always reframe yourself as, hey, I am going to take over the accounting function. I'm going to take over the finance function. You're going to outsource the entire thing to me so you can focus on marketing and innovation. So just use the same concept to empower your customer, your small business client, to refocus their energy in innovating and branding and marketing and all those things. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more quotes, but before we do that, Blake, do you have any comments on this or any questions so far on what we talked about?
No, I just love it. And I love that quote. I think it's really challenging for firms to get that. The marketing and innovation are the core activities. We all think it's the accounting, it's the returns. And when you actually look into it, it's not. But you could do a whole webinar just on this quote.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well,
Would
we
now
are almost doing that. Almost a whole webinar on this quote. That's for sure. That's for sure.
That's right. Would now be a good time to take a little break?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do
Okay,
that. Let's give
let's
a shout
do
out to
this.
Avalara.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Avalara. Thank you to our sponsor, Avalara, for their financial support that makes this series possible. Did you know that 52% of accounting practitioners from small to large still rely on spreadsheets and manual processes for sales tax compliance? It's time to stop and focus on automation. The Avalara for Accountants suite empowers even the smallest practitioner to support clients' tax compliance needs. All firms can benefit from their referral program. Simply refer clients to Avalara and let them assist on your behalf. For practices that offer direct compliance services, use Avalara for Accountants' award-winning tools to help you start or grow a tax compliance or CAS service. Expressly designed for accounting service providers with multiple clients, solutions include real-time rates, automated returns filing, registrations, tax research, and automated tax solutions for specialized tax areas. Partner with Avalara and grow your practice with efficient and accurate sales tax compliance while reducing risks for you and your clients. To learn more, contact Avalara at accountants@avalara.com or visit them at avalara.com/accountants. All right, back to you, Hector.
Perfect. All right. So let's talk about a couple of other quotes. Again, we're in the seek of inspiration. So, Blake, my job right now as a facilitator of this is to uh, get you turned on into this sort of innovation mindset. So then when we start brainstorming about, the big question, what if Disney were to open an accounting firm? Your neurons are sort of opened up for that. So I'm going to give you another quote that I love, which is, the value of a product or service can increase or decrease depending on the context in which it is presented. What do you think about that?
I think of bottled water at the airport. So it might cost me 69 cents at the grocery store. It'll cost me $6.90 at the Phoenix airport. And that's all because of where I am and what my other options are when I'm there. I'm a captive audience.
Absolutely. There's a funny video on YouTube that I recommend you watch. I think it's called $2 Ed Sheeran Peep Show. Have you seen that one? $2 Ed Sheeran Peep Show.
Is this where like, he's anonymous and people don't know who he is and they're trying to
No,
get people?
no,
Okay.
no. So what they do is that they actually put him. I think this is like Australia or New Zealand or something like that. They put him in a little. They're in like this peep show district and whatever city they're in, a place that's known to have a lot of sort of peep shows and strip clubs and that sort of thing. And they rented one of the rooms, and then Ed Sheeran, the artist, the international superstar, was there. And there was he was covered up, and then there were a guy out in the street, a super shady looking guy, was saying, "Hey, $2 for 30 seconds for a peep of Ed Sheeran." He's there, and no one would say yes. And for like 2.5 hours, after tons of convincing, he goes, "Okay, whatever, $2. Well, let's see what you got." And the people sit down, they go, peep show started.
It's really
curtain
him.
opens. It's really Ed Sheeran. He's singing one-on-one to this person. This person is like just like stuck, mummified. And then the 30 seconds later, curtain goes. He's like, "Can I do more?" He's like, "No, it's just 30 seconds. That's it. Goodbye." And just the lesson here is that, first of all, I mean, $2 per 30 seconds. I mean, I think I would pay $200 to get
Right.
100 minutes straight with him, or whatever the math is. But it's the context. Like, it's peep show, superstar, $2. It just doesn't make any sense to the user. So the user is not gonna believe the value is there. So why would they even bother?
I got one like that for you. So Joshua Bell did an experiment where he went into a subway station in New York and he busked. He just took out his violin, started playing, opened the case for money. And people are walking by for like a whole hour, and only one or two people recognized him and understood the artistry of what he was doing. Everybody else totally missed it because he wasn't in the same context. He wasn't in the concert hall. He wasn't wearing his suit.
And then down the street at the Lincoln Center, people would pay $200.
Oh,
to
yeah.
go see him.
Much
Right?
more than $500 for a seat, to see Joshua Bell at one of those concerts. It's amazing. Yeah.
No, it's incredible. The context is everything. Pretty much that's what that that quote is telling us. Another really cool quote is from Albert Einstein, which is, "You cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." But basically, this is a riff on your definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. All he's saying is that the problem that was created using old thinking cannot be solved with the old thinking. We
Mm.
need new thinking, right? So we need to completely change that. Next one is Peter Thiel's quote, author of Zero to One, which is, "The most valuable businesses of the coming decades will be built by the entrepreneurs who seek to empower people rather than to make them obsolete." And this is before the whole AI craze, before Chat GPT. Think about this, okay? So Peter Thiel is just thinking way ahead of his time. This book is from 2007, I believe, or 2017, actually. "The most valuable businesses of the upcoming decades will be built by the entrepreneurs who seek to empower people rather than try to make them obsolete." And think about what all these technologies are trying to do, or at least the context in which people are viewing these new
Yeah.
technologies.
Do you know when he said that, Hector? Because that is very prescient given the
Yeah,
development
it's
in
not
AI.
recent. It's not
Yeah.
recent.
Like with Chat GPT, like,
This is prior to ChatGPT. Yeah.
yeah. So like generative AI just makes me already so much more productive. It's incredible how it's augmented my abilities. And like, so this is just totally spot on.
Right. And the context is, we can see these technologies. Some people, you could choose to see these technologies as trying to make people obsolete or replace people with technology, or the folks that say, you know what, I'm going to use this tool to empower me to make me better rather than trying to replace
Hmm.
someone else, or make my team better rather than trying to replace them. So I think that's the other challenge that people are having, especially with ChatGPT type of technologies, is they're saying, well, how is this going to save me money? And that's code word for, who can I fire and use this instead? Like, people are not thinking of using this to empower the individual. So it's a great quote. I love it. It's very important and pertinent to today's time. Another great quote from Blair Enns is, he actually came up with this concept called the inefficiency principle. Inefficiency principle. That's not a real word. It's his made up word. And is, innovation and efficiency are mutually opposing goals. You cannot increase without decreasing the other, which means you must be inefficient to bring
Hmm.
on innovation. It's very difficult to be mired in efficiency and somehow innovate.
And this is why traditional accounting firms struggle to innovate, because they say we're going to give our staff 10% innovation time, and innovation's a lot more inefficient than 10%. You need to give them 20, 30, 40, even 50% of their time to innovate.
Well, if you're measuring the innovation time, that means that you're focused on efficiency, right?
Right, right.
Right.
Oh, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, you're measuring the innovation, and then you're trying to get your innovation output per hour, in a spreadsheet or something like that. Of
Right.
course, you're not going to get anything out of
Uh,
it. This is why accounting firms don't innovate,
I,
because
did you
they're
ever
mired
watch?
in efficiency.
Did you ever watch that show Mad Men, Hector?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
so
Yep.
like I when I think of innovation, I think of Don Draper, like lying on his couch in his office doing nothing for like 2 days until he has a moment of genius, and then that becomes the ad campaign that propels the agency to its next level. It's not, you can't measure him with a timesheet.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's one of the awesome scenes from it is when Conrad Hilton, who's the owner founder of Hilton Hotels, is showing him, this is in a social setting, is showing him, I guess, an advertising poster, where they had the new slogan or the new mascot of Hilton, which is, the little lovable character that customers will fall in love with, is a little Mickey Mouse looking mouse. It's a little Mickey Mouse looking mouse, talking about the hotel or whatever. So he asked them to give him a free one. He's like, "Hey man, this is my profession. What do you mean?" He's like, "Just give me a free one." And then he takes out a cigarette, takes a long puff, he's looking at it, and he goes, "I don't think that in the context of hotels, people want to think about a mouse."
I forgot about that scene, but that's a really good one. Yeah.
But if you're thinking, I mean,
Yeah.
like, if efficient mindset will never drive you to that particular thought.
Yeah.
Okay, like efficient mindset will think about the size of the of the lettering, the size of this, and the picture. You're not using it like just like the really big picture stuff, the simple
Mm.
things. And innovators think differently. I believe they just see the problems in different perspectives. Another quote that I like, and again, Blake, I'm trying to inspire you. Okay, I'm trying to get you into this innovative mindset. So Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is he said the riskiest thing we can do is just to maintain the status quo, or the riskiest thing is not to take any risks. So basically, all he's saying is you got to take a risk, got to take a risk, got to do something different. Another awesome quote is creativity and innovation always comes to us as a surprise. Otherwise, central planning would work. This is from George Gilder, author on Wealth and Poverty. Obviously, he's big into capitalism and free markets, and this is where innovation comes from. It's letting people solve problems for other people. Don't not just getting the government and central planning out of the way in order to foment innovation. Another really good one, and this is this last one from George Gilder. I asked our friend Ed Kless from the Soul of Enterprise podcast, a podcast that we love. I asked him for, hey, a quote on innovation that you like, and he gave me this one. Okay, so quick shout out to Ed, our friend Ed Kless. And then I asked our friend Ron Baker for his favorite quote on innovation, and he gave me this one. This is from Ed Catmull, who's a CEO of Pixar, and you can see there's a lot of Disney themes here. In a fear-based, failure-adverse culture, fear-based, people fearing for their jobs, failure-adverse culture. This is people that really don't want to screw things up. People will consciously or unconsciously avoid risk. Their work will be derivative and not innovative. And how much of accounting work is simply just derivative? Because we are fear based. We don't want to screw it up because the customer will get a penalty, right? Failure adverse, that's what we measure. We track time. So we can always go back and tell, well, I spent 30 hours on the project, then, it doesn't matter. I could justify or CYA myself into any possible mistakes because we put enough resources of people or time into it. So again, when people are avoiding risk, they're just gonna do more the same and not ever innovate or bring new thinking. Another one awesome quote from Michael Dell, founder of Dell Computers, is efficiency is the foundation of survival, but innovation is the foundation of success. We have to have efficiency, but innovation is more important. And one quote I like from Ron Baker, I don't have it in the slides here, which is effectiveness trumps efficiency. Right? Effectiveness is more important. And I think innovation is effectiveness because innovation means creating something new for your customers, which is effective at getting your customers to come in to buy your products and services. So, how we innovate in three ways. Actually, three and a half ways. Okay. We can innovate by creating a new thing. We can innovate by improving an existing thing, but not just a small improvement, a noticeable improvement. And that's very difficult. I don't have a number, but it needs to be noticeable. So we can create a new thing. One, we can noticeably improve an existing thing. Or three, we can reframe an existing thing without changing it or improving it. Okay, and we're going to go back and talk about that reframing because that's probably the bulk of all the low hanging fruit type of innovation that we can create immediately. And that's what the exercise of what if Disney were to create an accounting firm, because we would reframe what we think an accounting firm does and we will reframe what we think the Disney brand does into this new sort of merged concept. And the half, the three and a half one is we can combine a whole bunch of existing things that are not necessarily new, but the combination and sometimes a unique combination would feel like something new. This is what we call bundling, and in the accounting world, this is what we call the quote tech stack. And people are obsessed. What's your tech stack? What's your tech stack? Because your tech stack is your combination of technologies that you put together, integrate, and use in a particular order, and try to use it across all your customers to create a new, unique, different feeling experience without really reinventing the wheel. You didn't develop any of the apps. All you did was choose the right combination of apps, bundle them to give the customer the feel of something new, something unique. Okay. Any comments or questions so far, Blake?
No, the bundling thing I think also applies to the way we sell the existing services we have, right? Just bundling tax and bookkeeping together into a new offering that's subscription based, right? Like that's, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, so just combine. You don't have to create something new. Just combine them, and the
Mm-hmm.
combination could be. That's why I call it three and a half, because that one, it's almost not really necessarily innovation, but it can feel, and it's a very simple, easy way to go about it. Okay. Now, what is the textbook definition of innovation? It's a new idea, a new method, a new device, a novelty, the introduction of something new. I think we all knew this, but I'm going to give you my breakdown of the word innovation. And the nice thing is this works in Spanish and it works in English because it comes from the Latin roots of these words. So we start with in from innovation, which means in or inside. I think of that of inside your head. Nova comes from new, right? Nova is Latin, the Latin root for new, and Asian is action. So if you break this down, is to make something internal new or to think differently about something. That's what innovation is. Make something internal new. So make your head think differently. That's to me the definition of um, of innovation. Now, there's tons of subjectivity on innovation because whether something is new or old, it's a subjective concept, right? So, Blake, I know you live in Arizona. I've never been to Arizona, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I go to Arizona, I'm gonna see a bunch of things that are new. Uh, you drive around and see that thing every day of your life. Okay, so tons of subjectivity. So that means that nothing is intrinsically new or intrinsically old. Does that make sense? So nothing
Yes,
is
right. It's
naturally new or naturally old only to the person that perceives it that way.
correct. Yes, and objectively, when we repackage services in an accounting firm, when we rework how and team members are incentivized, often they're really still doing the same things they were doing before. We're just thinking about it in a different way, and that changes everything.
Absolutely right.
Right?
Okay.
You're still filing a tax return. You're still reconciling accounts. You're still talking with clients, but it's the way you think about it, the way you present it, that makes the big difference.
Okay. Can you share my screen again? Just one more time. I
Yeah.
think I unshared it by mistake.
Well, and if you don't mind me sort of going on a little rant here,
Yeah.
like if you
Right.
think about it, like this is where people get innovation wrong in accounting, is that we think that in order to change our firms, we have to add new services, that we have to do new things, but we don't. We can do exactly what we were doing before, but do it in a slightly different way, and it changes the whole experience.
Or reframe it.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things I reframed it, and this is a transformation that I've been going through, inspired by Ron's book Time's Up, is I'm not only moving to a subscription-based model, I'm also reframing what we do. So most people would think, or most of our colleagues, fellow CPAs, would think that what we do is we do accurate financial statements, right? We state accuracy, we create accuracy in financial statements. But in reality, that's our profession. That's what we got taught to do. But customers don't buy that. Customers don't buy accurate financial statements. What customers buy is confidence in their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence in their numbers. So they can trust their gut feelings, because everyone wants to trust their gut feeling. Anytime your gut feeling betrays you, it feels like a stab in the heart, right? And anytime that you know you're supposed to do something, but you just don't want to trust the gut feeling because you have no backup, you have no proof, you have no documentation, or you have no confidence in your financial statements, you don't execute that gut feeling action, and that slows you down. And then you allow the competition to eat you alive. Because if you think that our competition is another CPA firm, you're dead wrong. Our competition is going to be the Intuits of the world doing, making their software automate our work. It's going to be Amazon somehow getting into our profession. It's going to be Shopify somehow getting into our profession. It's going to be Walmart somehow getting into our profession. It could be even be Disney getting into a profession. That's our real competition. So when our services are now being measured against the speed of Amazon delivery, or the efficiency of Netflix of outputting new shows. When our services are being pinned and compared against that, we have no time to waste. That means that we need to use every single part of our bodies to make decisions, and that gut feeling is the single most powerful one. And if we don't have confidence in our financial statements, we cannot use it correctly or use it timely. So what I do for a living, my goal in life, is to give my customers confidence in their numbers, and I'm reframing the entire my entire firm around that. Okay, so when people in my firm ask me, or when I ask somebody in my firm, hey, what are you doing? Their answer should be, I'm helping XYZ customer have more confidence in their numbers. And that needs to be culturally how we reframe everything that we do. We're not changing what we're doing. We're still doing debits and credits. We're still using QuickBooks. We're still reconciling bank accounts. None of this stuff is changing. We're just reframing what it means to do what we do, what it means to our customers, and why we do what we do. That's reframing, and that's powerful. The most powerful tool you can think of. If you go look for the definition of reframing, is a cognitive technique of looking at a situation or problem from a new perspective in order to change the way it is perceived. Now, one of the books I read from Peter Block talked about, he was talking about a different author, Werner Erhard, and the part of the quote, which is really, really important, is all transformation is linguistic. All transformation is linguistic. That means that every change you want to make in your life or in your business needs to have a word, a set of words, and it needs to go through your head first. You got to be able to label what you want to do or change or create before you can transform into it. All transformation is linguistic. That means change your words, change your world. Change your words, change your world. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. And Blake, I don't know if you're a fan of apples. Apples the food, and not apples the technology. Apples the food. For 50 years, up until a couple of years ago, and I went deep into Apple research on this. Not Apple the technology, Apple the food. The number one most sold apple in America was called the Red Delicious apple, and and it was called Red Delicious. And do you think that has something to do with why people were buying it? Absolutely, because they did a study when once Red Delicious stopped being the number one apple in America for 50 years. They did a blind test study where they took the 10 most sold apples, Granny Smith, Fuji or Fiji, whatever it's called. I don't know if you know the names on
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Honey Crisp,
Fuji. I like the
yeah,
Fuji apples a
yeah,
lot, but they don't.
Honey Crisp.
I know where you're going with this, right, Hector? They don't look as pretty.
Right. Not just that, they did a blind taste test, and you know which one was dead last in every single one?
The Red
The Red
Delicious. Yeah,
Delicious
they're
apple.
disgusting. They're horrible.
Yeah, they taste like nothing. So,
Yeah.
so is it because it's a beautiful blood red color and the wax that they put on it? It has a really nice combination and it stands out to the person. Yes, but I think the name is what did it. The name is what did it, because when you give when you give the food a name and the name becomes its thing, if you're faced between one called the ambrosia apple, which is delicious, and red delicious, and you're trying to in your head figure out which is going to taste better, but automatically you're going to say, well, this one is called delicious, it might as well, it probably is. So in the absence of being an expert in apples, specific apples, you're going to go with Red Delicious. And I think that's what drove people to buy this disgusting apple. All right. So
Apologies to all the Red Delicious lovers out there.
yeah, I know for sure. Sorry about
Send your emails to Hector.
your angry mail. And my favorite quote ever. This is my favorite quote, the quote of all quotes. This is the quote that I use to think about life. And this is the quote that I tell to my children all the time. This is a quote that I use for business and parenting, which is Wayne Dyer's quote, which is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And there's no more innovative spirit than that quote. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So, in summary, before we get into now the brainstorming session, this is a summary of what we talked about. In order to have an innovative mindset, I'm going to give you 6 key points. So we're going to summarize the entire, what is it, 40 minutes that we've talked so far into these 6 key points, and just take this and print it, put it on your desk, and say, okay, I'm going to follow these things, and trust me, you're going to be more innovative. One is create an environment and culture that foments innovation. You essentially have to give people, this is for people that have teams, a free range to think, play, and test things. Okay, this is not. There's no coincidence that in companies like Apple and Google and all these things in Silicon Valley, they have board games in the cafeteria, and ping pong tables and arcades. This is not a coincidence, right? They're letting people play and think a little bit, because it's in that thought, in that play state, that your innovative part is turned on. Okay, you're not, when you're coding or entering data in a computer, or data entry, no innovation is happening, because we are in the efficiency side of our brain. The creative side of our brain, it's only sort of opened up and creating when you're thinking and playing and testing things. The second one is innovation can never be forced and can never be planned. It should take you by surprise. So just be patient. Be patient. It will happen. As long as the environment, innovative environment is there, it will happen. Third one is the never ending pursuit of efficiency will make it harder to reach innovation. So you have to, kind of let loose a little bit, about just stop being so so anal about everything having to be so efficient. The fourth one is a change in context can change the meaning of an unchanged content. A change in context can change the meaning of an unchanged content. Fifth is take risks. Right? You need systematically take risks. Not enough to like bring your firm down, but take enough risks that you can foment change. And last one is, if in fact transformation is linguistic, then you have to change your words first. Change your words first. That's why I said I'm changing the words of my firm to we create, we we help people have confidence in their numbers. So the minute you change the word on that, everything else changes with that. Okay, so let's go into improv mode. Blake, innovation thought experiment. What if Disney started an accounting firm? And I started with a couple of questions that we can start asking each other. But first, do you have any immediate thoughts in your mind? Maybe something you thought about before coming in terms of what would happen if Disney were to start an accounting firm?
Sorry, Hector, did you have a question there? I
Yeah,
missed that.
I'm saying, do you have any initial thoughts, or you want to go straight to the question?
Yeah, no. So, okay, so my experience with Disney is that my son is 8. We went to Disneyland when he was 6, or was it 7? And I hadn't been in, 20 years. And I was blown away at how clean, efficient, beautiful, friendly, fun, good tasting everything is at Disney. Everything is 5 stars, including the hotels. And they just do everything like I would want. Like I would want to live at Disney. Like that's how good it is, right? It's like the perfect Main Street USA is like the imaginary perfect town. And so, I know they do a lot of really innovative things at Disney to make that happen. So that's my question is like, what are they doing as a company that allows them to create that consistently amazing experience for their guests?
Well, one of the things I think, just starting off the bat, is their customers are called guests, right? So the minute you change the word, right, they're not customers, they're not clients, they're guests, right?
Right. Yeah, that's
And
true.
guest
And
has a meaning. You said it. You said it. You didn't even notice.
well, that's what they call you, right? When you're there, you're a guest.
Right? You go to guest services.
Yeah.
What do you do for a guest, right? First of all, you make them feel comfortable. You make sure they have towels. So a house guest, right? You make sure you give them appetizers. You offer them a drink, right? You make sure they get the most comfortable chair. You clean the house before they come. You get on your best attire. You try to cook them something nice to impress them. So imagine if every one of your customers is a guest, and then basically, and you're not allowed to call them customers; you only call them guests.
Yeah.
I would say that's one. Two, you know what they call their, you know what the team members are called inside
Th-
Disney,
They call them cast members,
the
right?
cast members.
Yeah.
Why?
Uh, I've heard this. It's because the whole park is a show.
It's a performance. Absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. The whole
And
entire performance. That's
yeah,
absolutely right. And you want to know what this? You know what? You want to know what the purpose statement of the Disney parks is?
that I don't know. Tell me.
To create memories.
What a great purpose statement.
Right.
Yeah.
So your customers are guests, the employees are cast members, and the purpose is to create memories.
And
And one of
that's
the
what keeps
best,
people coming back.
yeah, absolutely. And one
Yeah.
of the best anecdotes that I heard about this, I heard it from Joe Woodard, the creator of the Scaling New Heights conference, and I think he learned this at the Disney Institute. And then Ron Baker's also he also went to the Disney Institute. That's why they draw a lot of inspiration from this. One of the anecdotes that he discusses is there's a custodian, the person that just cleans the park is there, picking up trash or whatever, and a family walks up to the custodian and says, "Hey, where's the ice cream shop?" Okay, so that custodian, that person's job is to clean the park, and you said the park is super clean and super efficient at maintaining the clean park. So that's clearly
I,
important. Like you and I recognize that keeping the park clean is its utmost importance. So that person can stay on task and continue to clean and can say, "Yep, you see right over there," and just point, just go straight over there, make a right. That's where the ice cream shop is. So any business that we would go to, like a Walmart type of business, even Target type of business, that's how people would do it. But that person, that custodian knows that their purpose is to create memories. So any opportunity they have to create a memory, they're going to do things differently. So that person can kick it up a notch and say, "Hey, you know what? Let me just walk you there." Okay. And many five-star type businesses do that. They walk you there. Or that person can kick it up a notch even more and can line up the family sort of like in a sort of like a sort of army style,
yeah.
and then can start and it can start, what do you call it when you walk like this, when you start
They
pacing?
march
Yeah,
them.
start marching, right, and start marching towards it and singing maybe a Disney song while you're doing it, all the way to the ice cream shop. So that custodian is off task. That's not their job, but they're on purpose.
Yeah.
And that story, the anecdote, to me just exemplifies why Disney, answers your question. How do they do it? Well, they do it because every single employee is empowered to think like that.
I love that.
Now, how is this relevant to us? Okay, all right, so that's fun, that's cool, but what does it have to do with accounting?
Yeah,
Okay.
Hector, my accounting firm's not Disneyland. Come on, let's
Yeah,
get real.
true, but the reason why we have these type of thoughts experiments is because the best thought experiments are when you take two or more completely, seemingly unrelated things and you start mashing them together. So let's do that now. So now we know, both of us and the audience knows enough about Disney, or at least from this perspective, to start thinking about, okay, how do we translate that? So the first question I'll ask to you, Blake, and then just brainstorm some names. What would they call the accounting firm? What would they call the accounting firm?
Well, it wouldn't be the last names of the three partners.
Right,
That
absolutely not. Yeah,
or it wouldn't be the initials of those
right.
partners.
No, not no, no.
Um, I'm trying to imagine it right now.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the words that Disney uses. Because
Okay.
remember, all transformation is
Yeah.
linguistic, and then I'll start throwing some words, and then we'll start brainstorming. So they use the word magic a lot.
Yep.
They use the word dream a lot.
Mhm.
They use the word creative a lot. Right.
Yep.
Right. They use the word entertainment a lot. Entertain, memories. Right. So, like, does that get us a little closer to a firm name?
Wish upon a tax return.
What about
Well,
what about the dream builders?
yeah, that would be a firm that wouldn't just do my tax return, but would also help me achieve my financial goals. Dream
Exactly.
builders, right? My
Yeah.
financial dreams. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So that's
Dream
that's
builders.
so dream builders. Yeah. real
Actually,
dream builders for
that's a
everyone
great name for a firm. Somebody should go out there and grab that
and do it.
domain,
Right.
dreambuilders.cpa. Go get it.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So now they use the word creativity a lot, but the problem is creative accounting is one of those things that get a little bit a little bit frowned upon.
Yeah.
But but it could be, I mean, it could be something like, we said the dream builders,
Yeah.
but it could also be called the future build. Like, you know how
Hmm.
there's Tomorrowland, like in Disney World, there's an area called Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
So it could also be tomorrow builders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or tomorrow business advisors,
I like that.
or Tomorrowland business advisors, or business advisors of tomorrow.
Hmm.
Again, using a lot of the words that they use. So I mean, that's enough for you to start thinking about, okay, what if we would use a different example, right? What if Rolex were to make a sandwich shop, right? And then we start thinking about, precision sandwiches or something like that. So
Yeah.
you can use these examples, but again, the idea is to just play with this. Another question we can discuss is, how would they charge, or what would their business model be like? And this might be an easier
Oh
question
yeah.
based on,
This one
yeah.
I can do better on. Well, so Disney, they at one point all the theme parks in the country charged for each ride that you went on, and you had to buy tickets for every ride. And Disney started that way too, but they realized that it's a better experience for customers or guests rather just to pay one fee to enter the park. They've since added different tiers, right, with their whole Disney Genie, ride skipping kind of service, but still, you get 90% of Disneyland just by one fee.
Yeah, so based on the one fee to go to Disneyland or Disney World, and the single fee to access Disney Plus to watch all the movies, then you could probably infer that a Disney inspired accounting firm would have a single charge to have access to everything that they can offer, that the firm can
Hmm.
offer. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you do everything for everyone yesterday? No. I mean, then there's a fast pass, right?
Well,
Or a genie
and
pass,
they,
whatever it's
I
called.
mean, and they have the expensive add-ons, right? You want to build a lightsaber, you're going to pay an extra $300 for that, right? So it's not like you have to give that up. But most people get into the park, probably 80%, right? Just pay that fee, that one cost,
Right.
or the
So you
subscription. And
so
there's a
for
subscription for when they go home too. Yeah.
Right. Right. So from 80% of customers, there would be a single price and they would have access for everything. And for the
Yeah.
20% premium customers, there would be like a fast pass where they can get access to you quicker, or they can get their financial statements done faster, or maybe it also involves some additional services. I know Disney has even a super VIP thing called D23 or something like that, where people pay a whole bunch of money and they have access to like hidden restaurants and hidden
Oh,
clubs inside Disney. I don't know if you heard about those.
yeah. Yeah.
So
You
there will
can
be access
pay.
to those too.
Yeah, you can pay like $200 an hour and get a personalized tour of Disneyland. It costs you a few $1,000s, but you don't wait in any lines, right? And your firm could have that too.
Right. Not for all your
Yeah.
customers, for the customers that,
Yeah.
have a lot more time than money. I mean, a lot
A
more
lot more
money
money than
than time.
time.
Money than
Yeah.
time. Um, so that's how they would charge. Now the other question is, compared to the average firm, would they be average? Would they be lower price, or would they be higher price?
Oh yeah, no, they'd be premium. Absolutely top priced,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Everyone who's taken their family to Disney knows just how expensive it is these days.
exactly, and and
Yeah.
that and usually, if you spend a lot of money to do something in an event, like, you are just more vested into it, and
Hmm.
you're gonna pay more attention to it, and you're gonna force yourself to enjoy it more. And that's the type of customer they want, right?
Hmm.
But the nice thing about it too is, you don't need to spend 5 grand to have a great interaction with Disney. You could just buy a $24 movie in Target. So
That. Yep.
so I think that a Disney accounting firm would also have a very low cost, sort of do it yourself, work on your own type product. So I think a Disney firm would also have maybe an ebook, or a video or something that says, hey, how do you run your own business? How do you do your own accounting or something?
Yeah.
I think absolutely Disney would do something like that.
It'd be high quality. It wouldn't be super cheap, but it
It
would
would be
be,
highly produced, but
yeah,
they can sell to the masses, so
right.
they'll make it up
Yep,
in a few hundred sales anyway.
absolutely.
What about, this is an interesting one. What about merch? you know, like,
Oh,
after every ride, you go into the gift shop, and then
yeah.
there's merch almost for every ride. So I've never been in an accounting firm that gives out merch, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't, So like, I think definitely their customers would have Disney accounting firm merch.
Okay, here's an idea, Hector. This is an idea I had years ago. Um, Tell me what you think about this. I think this fits in. So, one of the big problems we have in cloud accounting, in client accounting services, is getting our clients to use the apps that we set up for them, getting them to use the practice management, the portal, the all that stuff. And I said, well, what if we just made it super easy for them and we like loaded all that stuff onto an iPad and gave them the iPad and just told them, hey, you need to send documents to us, like use the iPad to take a picture of it and you can send it securely. Everything's already set up. We've already installed all the apps. You're already logged in and we'll manage it from a security perspective through our IT. Like that would be an experience that nobody has ever created before.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, like, Disney has this thing called the something band, or the one band, or the
Yeah.
magic band, or
Magic
something like
Band.
that. And the magic band has entrance to the hotel, has your credit card so you can buy anything you want, has your fast pass so you can go into the rides. Essentially, all of these situations where you have to go take something out from your pocket to interact with Disney, you no longer need it because you have a magic band. I think this iPad loaded with our tech stack that we manage remotely, that we can connect with, it would be the accounting firm version of the magic band, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So that's awesome. I think that was a great brainstorming there. Now, what would they call their employees?
They wouldn't call them staff,
Yeah, that's for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Team. I call my team just like team members, right?
Right. But I think Disney would
Um,
take it up a notch.
yeah,
I
they,
think
they they call them cast members. What would the accounting firm call their team? Um,
so. You want to laugh?
yeah, sure.
I I built this entire presentation. I pasted it into Chat GPT, and I said, "Look, this is what I'm building. Help me come up with some names for staff members or for team members that would be in this Disney inspired practice." So
Oh,
ChatGPT gave me some.
well, you
So,
got to tell us.
so one was Dream Builders, and that's really where that came from. So one was Dream Builders, and
Wow,
there's a quick.
that's that's great. ChatGPT came up with that.
They
That's
came up with that. I mean,
spectacular.
I did prompt. I told
Yeah,
them all the books that I read. I told them, we
yeah, yeah,
talked.
yeah.
But ChatGPT came up with that, and there's an explanation behind it. Listen to the explanation. This term will emphasize on the firm's role helping clients achieve their financial dreams and goals. It would also encourage employees to approach their work with a sense and purpose and meaning, similar to the way Disney theme park employees arrive to create unforgettable memories for guests. How on point is that?
That's
How on point is that? And there's
spectacular.
more. There's
Yeah.
more options. We got financial storytellers. This term will highlight the firm's commitment to creating financial experiences that are not only accurate and reliable, but also engaging and memorable. This would encourage employees to think about their work as a way of telling a story and to use storytelling techniques to help clients understand and connect with their financial data.
Financial storyteller.
All right, there's one more. Financial alchemist. Financial
Oh,
alchemist.
oh, that's good.
Okay, this term would emphasize the term's ability to turn financial data into something valuable and transformative. That's what alchemy is, right?
Yeah.
Transforming things. It would also tie into the theme of magic and transformation, encouraging employees to approach their work as a form of financial alchemy, turning mundane tasks into gold for your clients.
Wow. Financial alchemist. I love it.
I love it too. And you know
Yeah.
what? The cool thing is, ChatGPT. You could, like, if you don't have somebody to brainstorm with, now you can brainstorm with ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's really good. I
It is
had
really good.
I hadn't thought about using it for this kind of purpose, but that's great. Yeah, if you're rebranding your accounting firm or starting one, brainstorm that with ChatGPT. Find a company that you admire and ask what would that accounting firm look like if Rolex started an accounting firm, or Delta started an accounting firm, or I don't know if people like Delta, but definitely not Southwest, right?
Yeah, right. Now, what would they call their customers? What would they call their customers?
Well, Disney calls their customers guests.
Yep.
This
Yep.
firm would call their customers. You got to tell me what the AI said.
I didn't ask AI for this one.
Okay.
I didn't cheat for the whole thing. So, what the one thing I was thinking is, uh, customers are here, like sort of the hero of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would take components from Disney-like characters, Disney-like heroes, and and use something like that. I mean, most heroes are dreamers, and again, I know we're repeating the theme,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if we're the dream builders,
They're the
and
customers are the dreamers.
the other dreamers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or the right, or the economic dreamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yep.
the business dreamers, right? Or the future dreamers, or whatever it is.
Or if you're in the
Now,
US, the American dreamers.
the American dreamers, that's a really cool too. Now, I went really deep into like asking ChatGPT for ideation. I said, I asked them if there was a Disney character that would represent the team members of this Disney-like firm that guides that hero through their journey, which characters would could we be? So one of them is Jiminy Cricket,
I
right?
was gonna say that first thing out of my
Totally.
mouth. Yep.
Loyal, wise conscience of Pinocchio. We are our clients' conscience, right? We're the ones telling them, hey, make good decisions, right? And it would be so easy for a Disney-like firm to say, hey, remember, the dream builders are going to be your Jiminy Cricket. And when you're asking questions, you're going to make a tough decisions. Count on us to be your conscience or to be your guide.
Yep.
That interesting.
Yeah.
Another one is the R2D2s, right? We could plug into any technology. You know how R2D2 can plug into
Mm-hmm.
any technology and rewire the ship and stuff like that. The R2D2s, and there's a whole bunch. And I'll give you access to this document because this document is really cool. I put this together based on that. But here's another one. What would Disney call the struggles that small business owners go through? And I asked
Ooh,
ChatGPT,
I got one.
reframe the struggles as villains.
Villains or a journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The journey, absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I like the
So,
villains.
so I got a couple interesting ones, right? The cash flow crunch. This business villain might be represented as a menacing storm cloud, consistently threatening to rain down on the business owner's financial stability. The cloud could be personified as a greedy character named Cash Flow Crunch, who's always trying to drain the business of its resources and profits. How about this one? Taxoceros Rex.
Texas
This,
Rex.
this business villain is personified as a giant dinosaur-like creature with ferocious appetite for taxes and regulations. The name it could be portrayed as a powerful and unstoppable force that business owners have to learn how to control and tame. The regulation robot, represented by a cold calculating robot programmed to enforce complex rules and regulations in small business owners that they struggle to keep up with. Competitive Cruella,
Cruella.
represented by a cunning and conniving business owner trying to steal market share and undercut competition with lower prices. I mean, this thing goes forever. By the way, it's just really awesome
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
ChatGPT brainstorm with you. All right, let's just wrap this up because we're having way too much fun and we're probably not gonna get any real work done. How would they deliver the information, Blake? And this is reading out ChatGPT.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
one. How would they deliver the information?
I they would be definitely doing videos, right? They would be
Yep.
telling a story through images, words, pictures, right?
Yep. Yep.
Definitely
They would.
a narrative of some kind.
Yeah, a narrative for sure. I mean, I almost picture like you get an email, you click, and you get this like sound of like this like fairy tale sound of you opening the books and opening the reports, almost like like little stars and little sprinkles. A fairy dust opens right in your screen right before you look at your financial statements.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you definitely have the like the whole paper book kind of thing, the paper ledgers that open up and that's into your, digital reports kind of
Yeah. Kind
thing.
of like an old school storybook. Now,
Yeah.
which details would they obsess about?
Oh. Well, I think the presentation of the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Simple, very clear, easy to understand. Definitely not a lot of text on the page, not a lot of numbers on the page, just what matters.
Yeah. You know what I think they would obsess about? That people actually use it, that people
Hmm.
actually read it. I think that Disney would devise a way of making sure that when they open the financial statement, the user has to interact with it to have it like sort of like open, like just kind of like a curtain, like you
Hmm.
start looking at the revenue and then you start looking at the cost of goods sold and then you look at the payroll cost, and it's happening in such a way that they control the speed in which the information is portrayed to you to make sure that you're going through it and following it in this exact sequence that they want you to follow it in, so you can
Yeah.
follow it as a story and your net income is the conclusion of the story.
The other thing about Disney that really is great is they make even the unpleasant parts of being in a theme park pleasant, like waiting in line. So all those things that you have to do as a client that are normally not very fun, like log into some portal or something like that, you could make that, beautiful. You could make that, not just like your logo slapped on some generic kind of thing, but something that looks completely unique.
Which we would probably also include, because one of the challenges that we have is we are great at talking to the client and saying we're going to deliver this, and we're also great once we have time to sit down with them when it's done to explain it to them. But that in between, the emails back and forth is, did you file an extension? What's the status? Did you get all the reports? Do you need anything else from me? The organizer that hasn't been filled out, like the entire back and forth, this is the waiting in line equivalent,
Yeah.
is so uncomfortable for the customer. It's such a, and it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable for us
Well,
too.
and you know why it's uncomfortable? Because a lot of times they don't know where they are in line. And the thing about Disney lines is that they are all themed and they all have a progression where you go into a different room that has a different theme or a different object or different things to interact with. And so you get this feeling like even though you're waiting in line for an hour, you're moving forward. But most firms, when the client sends you their stuff, they just sit in a dark room until you get back to them. That's what it feels like anyway as a client most of the time because firms don't have the time or ability to give status updates.
Right. And in Disney parks, they have a real time update to how long the lines are going to take. It's
Yeah.
55 minutes, it's 105 minutes. They're honest with you. If it's going to take 3 hours, they'll tell you this Avatar ride will take,
Yeah.
3 hours. So being very precise on how long they will wait is something that Disney obsesses about.
Yeah.
And I think that a firm would do that. And this is probably the biggest opportunity we have. And I'm a culprit of that too. My firm is horrible at not only giving accurate deadlines, but also giving this entertainment sort of storytelling experience to how we're doing with the work, and then finally when they get there that it's actually within the time that we told them it would. And the last one, Blake, and I know because this is a topic that you've talked about quite a bit, and I know and don't want to get into the politics of this, but Disney's big thing has been diversity for a long time. Okay. And the accounting profession's big thing has not been diversity
Yeah.
for a very long time. So, how do you think Disney's approach to diversity, and again,
Well,
without the specific race representation part, just diversity in general, right? How would you think
yeah,
Disney would change that?
this doesn't even have to get political. This is just you can view this from a pure business decision. Okay. Demographics in this country are changing. And so if Disney is a media company, they understand that if their characters do not look like the people who are consuming the media, then they will lose market share. And it's the same thing in your accounting firm. If the people in your accounting firm don't look like your customers, you are going to lose market share to a firm where that is true. And so just that you need to build a firm that your customers want to interact with. And people like to interact with people who look like them. Let's just be honest about it. They want to have representation on the other side of the table. So that's how I view it. And that's just the pure business argument. I'm not saying the other ones aren't valid, right? If you've got ethical arguments to it, that's great. But I try to make, whenever I encounter people who are resistant to the whole diversity debate, in the accounting world, I try to make the business argument because you can't argue with it.
Absolutely. And that's it. That was my brainstorming on that. I wanted to bring in Blake. Really appreciate your feedback on that. Are there any questions from the audience or anything else you would like to add to this? Maybe something you thought last minute?
Oh, we had a ton of people joining during that discussion. That was great. I think since we're past the top of the hour, people had to go and get to their next meetings. So I don't have any questions for you right now. Thank you, everyone who joined us live. I think we can go ahead and wrap that, right? Any final words, Hector?
I would say an action item. An action item. So the action item is grab something that typically is a high production, high efficiency, um, high volume item or market or product. So let's exemplify this with Walmart, right? And then grab something that's completely the opposite, that is sort of slow cooked, luxurious, brand name, expensive, and look at the intersection of these two things. Like, so what if Walmart were to get into the golf course business? Like, just brainstorm that, nothing to do with accounting. You brainstorm that and have someone that wants to do it with you, that wants to go through this with you, and do this once a month or once a week even. So if you have a fellow colleague that likes this experiment, meet with Zoom and just go over these things and just play, be playful, play. And I'm telling you, I mean, just this nugget of information, just this golden nugget that Blake gave me that I hadn't even thought about, and I thought about this experiment quite a bit, which is the concept of how Disney uh, obsesses about the lines, and the lines being pleasant, and the light. Just that just gave me a couple of ideas on how I could change my firm and how I could bring changes. And I don't have to make my firm Disney, and my firm's never going to be Disney. I will never be Disney. But are there components of Disney that I can learn from? Absolutely. And that could be a huge differentiator. You can just take one tiny little thing. So I encourage you to get into the regular exercise of brainstorming and doing these type of thought experiments, and even expand upon this one. I would love to, if you DM me or email me or tweet me or whatever, what else did I miss? What else in your mind you thought Disney would definitely nail in the accounting world?
I love it. It's a lot of fun, and we learn so much when we do it. Thank you, Hector. Dear listeners, don't forget that we've got one last segment or session or part of this 8-part series. It's a capstone webinar that Hector will be doing in a couple weeks on, I believe it's, what did I say, March 20... Did I say March 28th? I hope it's March 28th.
It's the last week of March, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks, so it's March 28th. And so we will be sending out a link to everyone on the email list to that webinar. Be sure to subscribe, earmarkcpe.com/focus, and join us then. Ask your questions. It's going to be a summary of everything that we've learned in this entire series. So if you haven't caught all the videos, catch this last webinar, and you'll get the most important takeaways. And then you can go watch the individual parts if you want to dig in deep. Hector, I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.
Likewise.